Okay, this is Tony Wilder, beginning pitching, and we're going to define a subject a little closer here that we've already covered in the primary videos, and that's the fast shoulder. Now, when I spoke about the fast shoulder before, I was talking about it as being an extremely important aspect of what you were going to do. And I pointed out that shoulder and hip separation are very important, and they are. There's no doubt about it that if you can put together the combination, okay, and there's a combination of two levers that tend to disappear as soon as the game gets going and the pitcher starts losing concentration, and that's the lever of the hip and the lever of the torso. And when I say that, of course, I mean the hip going out towards the plate, and then in reality we call it a fast shoulder. That's what we call it. But what it really is, when push comes to shove, is the entire torso folding over, bringing the shoulder, the arm, and the ball forward, and slingshotting the ball towards the plate. Now, when you think about this, it's an important pursuit, because everything else can be added on after the fact. Once you develop the hip and the torso combo, all the other levers can be added in. Okay, the lever of the glove arm coming out and doing the counterbalance. Okay, the way the arm comes back all the way as far as it can to get as much momentum and inertia in the ball as possible. One of the most famous people to ever pull this off was Nolan Ryan. And Nolan Ryan's legend goes all the way back to when he was a kid. Nolan had an amazing capacity. He would get out on the ball field. I'm guessing he was about 14 or 15 years old. He could stand on a football gridiron and throw the ball 100 yards. Now, you really have to be pretty strong to be able to do that. You got to be pretty powerful. But in addition to that, you have some other factors which we've already talked about, and of course that's the fast shoulder. And this is what Nolan probably had going for him from the very beginning. He knew that the ball had to come from as far back as possible, and then in order to get it to go with any real speed at all, he was going to have to fold his torso completely forward. Now, if you are willing to follow those few mechanics, okay, leading with the hip and combining it with the torso, you're going to develop a very fast ball, which is, of course, the main meat and potatoes of this game. That's what makes it happen on the plate. That's what's going to make it work. When you're on the mound and you're putting this combination together, one of the things that you can do to bring about a good result, okay, is to make sure that you throw a four-seamer. Now, why are you doing that? Okay, well, of all the balls you can throw, and there are some very interesting breaking balls that you can throw, the four-seamer is probably the most stable, and the reason for that is obvious. You're using every seam on the ball. I mean, it's called a four-seamer, okay? If you're going to throw it overhand, which most players will, okay, whether you throw it sidearm or overhand, you're going to aim for all of those seams running over each other, okay? And as the ball flies, as that four-seamer flies, it tends to fly flatter and straighter than any other ball. Straighter than a two-seamer, okay? And any breaking ball that you throw, well, I mean, the word says it right there, breaking ball. You know, a breaking ball is designed to either drop down or curve off to the side, you know, whatever it's going to do. when you're putting this combination of levers together, and I'm talking about the hip and the torso, you want to get as much predictability as you possibly can. That means that if you throw the four-seamer, okay, the mechanics can almost be what aims the ball, okay? And we all know what it's like to be on the field or watch a game, and the pitcher watches the batter very closely. He's going to look to see where he's throwing the ball to. Now, that's important, and you should do that. It was always amazing to watch Roger Clemens come up to the pitcher's block, turn his head backwards, and then exactly 1 second before he was going to throw the ball, he'd throw the ball at the batter. And that's I always thought that was just professionalism, and it was just great. When you're practicing and you're putting together this combination of the torso lever and the hip lever, when you throw the ball should be aimable without you having to look at it. Now, I'm not saying to turn your head away. I'm not saying to not pay attention to where the ball is going. But for all practical purposes, you should be able to throw the ball goes in the target, okay? Or, if it's going to the catcher, it goes to the catcher. It should be able to make it there based on the excellency of the mechanics that you're executing. You should not really have to aim the ball by looking at it. Now, I think we all know that when you do get in the game, everybody's watching you, you're going to be paying extra attention to where the ball is going, and you're going to be looking to see whether the ball goes to the right place. But when you're practicing, you can skip a couple of things. And if you will let the mechanics do what they do in terms of you putting these few levers together and then throwing the ball, okay, at the target, then everything should fall into place for you. There should be no real complexity. There should be no real having to pay attention to the diamond and how the ball is getting to the batter and the catcher, at least in non-competitiveness, okay? During practice, you can do what you want. On that note, I think we will conclude this video. This is a definition of the fastball. This is a definition of the fast shoulder. This is the way to get there, and as you put these two levers together, you'll find out how everything else comes into play for you just exactly the way you would like to see it happen. Of course, it takes practice. Practice is what it takes, and the more you continue at it, the better you're going to get. The one thing that you want to pay attention to is that when you there's a couple of things that will really, really put a stress on your whole body, okay? When you combine the hip, when you see how leaning with the hip, okay, can speed up the ball that you're throwing, okay? It's interesting to see how your arm whips through the air that much quicker, and you're sitting there going like, wow, I really felt that, When you fold your torso forward, in other words, when you put the fast shoulder into it, you'll really come to know it. Okay, you'll come to understand that. Once you learn how to push off the block, and I haven't talked about this, I didn't cover it in the main part of the body of the videos 1 and 2, A and B, because it was really just going to be a bit much to try and put together. But once you start doing that, and I'll put a video together just for that, okay? It's a very special thing when you're using this ankle, okay, and you're pressing off with this foot. You will really, really have some launching power. And of course, along with launching power comes new aspects of how you're experiencing the stresses and strains of throwing the ball. It's going to be a bit much to go into now. I'm not asking you to use the foot to push off with now. Right now, if you can put the two levers together, the torso and the hip, That's going to be a lot. That's going to be quite a bit. You don't really need to do much more than that, but you'll be very, very pleased with the power that you can develop with just those two levers combined, and creating a much stronger launching pattern for the ball. Anyway, this is Tony Wilder for Beginning Pitching, and talk to you next time.